Hello everyone, my name is Neha. So in this video I am going to present my assignment on the topic concept of stare decisis in India of the subject judicial process including the theory of law and justice. My roll number is 220648. So I would like to start with the introduction of the topic. So the court court's policy of adhering to the precedents is known as stare decisis. It simply means to stand by the decided matter, that is, stick to a decision. Stare decisis is an acronym of the Latin phrase stare decisis et non quota movere, which means to stand by decision and not to disturb already settled things. Thus, it means to stick to one conclusion and not to disrupt settled things. The legal principle of stare decisis require court to follow and respect the precedents established by the court of higher authority. The principle of stare decisis is embodied in the Article 141 of Indian Constitution, under which it provides that the judgment of the Supreme Court will be binding on all the subordinate courts. Now I would like to elaborate the meaning of the phrase stare decisis. The doctrine of stare decisis refers to the rule in which the court would follow previous judicial decisions in future instances. As a result, when the same question or argument are addressed in the later instances, the court will follow the findings of the previous case. Like, the whole concept is about adhering to the things which have already settled, and the subordinate courts are bound to follow these principles which have already laid down, or the precedents which have already laid down. So now I would like to throw some light on the origin of the doctrine in India. So the notion of stare decisis in its current form does not appear to exist in India prior to the arrival of British. Following the foundation of the British India Authority in India, the notion of binding precedents became relevant in India due to the British rule. The notion of stare decisis is predicated on the two preconditions, which are the hierarchy of the courts and the reporting of judgment. Like earlier, we do not have the hierarchy of courts and the recording of judgment. As and when they being followed by the courts, like they made hierarchy of courts. So in that manner, if the higher court had decided something, so the subordinate court is bound to follow that rule upon that particular point. And also the reporting of judgments, like the judgments have been starting to be reported. The judgments of the Chequers Court was granting binding power for the first time in England in the 17th century itself. After the British conquest of India, the notion of precedent was developed in India, which led to a hierarchy of courts and the concept of higher courts judgment being regarded as binding decision on the subordinate courts. As a result, stare decisis has become a characteristic feature of our legal system since 18th century. Now the essence of the doctrine or the maxim stare decisis is embodied in Article 141 of the Indian Constitution. So the Latin term stare decisis et non quota movere enshrines the idea and concept of stare decisis, which is codified in Article 141 of the Indian Constitution. Article 141 states that any legal legislation pronounced by the Supreme Court is binding on all the courts within the territory of India. It has further states that only a case ratio decidendi, like if in a judgment there are two parts, one is ratio decidendi and another is the obiter dicta. So the portion that is the ratio decidendi is binding and the obiter dicta is just a passing reference or just a suggestion given by the courts. So the portion that is the ratio decidendi is the binding precedent, is the binding part of a judgment. So Article 141 highlights certain important concepts. All the Indian courts are required and bound by the law to follow the Supreme Court's ruling and maintain the concept and the principle constant. The judgment must be read in entirety, with the remarks from the judgment being assessed in light of the issues before the court. Only if a judgment is based on determining or resolving a legal matter may be used as a precedent. When a court is divided in determining a matter, the result reached by the judges in the majority will be cited as the precedent, rather than one reached by the judges in minority, like the majority portion. Like if a judgment is decided by a judge constitutional bench, so the ratio of 3 is to 2. So the portion of judgment given by the ratio of 3 judges is the binding portion and not the minority judgment. Only a court is divided in determining a matter, the result reached by the judges in the majority will be cited as precedent. Okay. Now the Supreme Court's ex parte ruling are also legally binding and can be used as precedents. The decision of the Supreme Court does not bind it. Like the Supreme Court itself is not bound by its own judgment. It can make a different opinion in the coming judgment or in the coming case. The binding character of the judgment is not affected by the procedural irregularities or immateriality. Special leave petitions are legally binding. Now, how the higher courts treat the precedent. So a higher court can do the following in the case or matter that was previously determined by the lower court. Like what can be done by a higher court when something is decided by the lower court. So it can reverse, it can overrule, or it can distinguish between the judgment or the opinion. Now at last I would like to cite or discuss some case laws regarding the doctrine. So we have a case of Hari Singh versus State of Haryana 1993. In this case, it was held that one of the key concepts to keep in mind in the system of justice administered by the courts is that the courts of the coordinate jurisdiction should have consistent opinions in respect to the similar set of facts and circumstances or the question of law. Instead of establishing judicial concord, if opinions offered on identical facts are discordant, judicial anarchy will result. The view that has dominated the field or for a long period must not be shaken simply because another opinion exists. As a result, the notion of stare decisis was upheld. Like what have been decided for a long period of time should not be disturbed by the new opinion or different opinion in the coming time. So let it be like that and just follow it what has been decided by the higher court. Now we have a case of State of Orissa versus Mohammad Hiyas. It is a case of 2006. In this case, it was held that substance of a decision is its ratio decidendi rather than every other observation contained in the judgment. The statement or the reason or principle on which a court was resolved a case is sufficient to establish a precedent. Like the binding portion of a judgment is the ratio decidendi and which is to be applied as the precedent. Now we have also a case of Commissioner of Income Tax versus Sun Engineering Work Private Limited. It was a case of 1992. In this case, Supreme Court held that in applying the decision of a subsequent case, the court must carefully try to ascertain the true principle established by the Supreme Court's decision rather than cherry picking words and sentences from a judgment that are divorced from the context of the question under consideration by the court to support their reasoning. The judgment should not be binding of it did not specify a justification for determining a point, because the reason for decision was that it is binding. So if you are applying from, like, if you are using a previous judgment of a higher authority, you cannot cherry pick things. You have to see the whole context, and then you can use the method decided by the Supreme Court. So this is all about my assignment. Thank you.